Good morning, welcome to this morning's Outlook. Before I get started, let's just have a look, bring the right page up into play. There's looking at risk events this morning first. There aren't any. This is the Monday, the 28th, is absolutely empty, so I thought I'd have a quick look at what's coming out ahead. And it's not a major month. We've got the non-farm payrolls, of course, on Friday, and that is it. So I don't think we'll be holding our breath quite the same for that as we would for a Fed meeting. Maybe a bit slower on Thursday, but maybe a summer's week. We'll see. But nothing significant there news-wise. So let's get on and have a look at the markets themselves, and starting off looking at the currencies and the euro dollar. Well, last week it's tried, and it has been pushing higher. It has been putting high lows in on the daily bars there. You see the higher lows coming through, but Friday later, this morning, it's just pitched over a little bit. Now, whether this is just a move back to the weekly pivot and we'll actually get a bounce off this, we've got pretty close to it. It might be sufficient to give us the rest of the bounce. We've got the daily pivot above, and up until now the trend's been largely up, but we have actually, I'm just looking, even actually switch this to a 60-minute chart just to get a bit more data in here, but we have got a lower high that's been plugged in here. Now, this could be a little ABC correction before we continue, so a bit of patience this morning needed just to see we start breaking through probably the 60-minute moving averages here. Be the key sort of line. Now, if we can break through there, yes, of course, daily pivot would be targeted, but beyond that, maybe back into where the R1 area, if we can get a wiggle on. To the downside, now there is potential for further downside, and at the moment I would just be looking at the potential trigger of a break across these lows here. So that's where I'm sitting, roughly, anyway. That's where I'm sitting at the moment. Looking at these markets, it's the euro, the pound. Now the pound was a bit weaker last week, and I expected more softening. I mean, it came off a bit more on Friday in the end there, and I did expect a little bit more. I was looking for that break on Friday. It came really late in the end. There we go. What bar did it came in right through after 4 o'clock. I was looking for a break of the lows here for Friday's live trading. Actually, never occurred in time for me. I mean, I'm not keen on post 4 o'clock trading, so it was not triggered into that. Now, might look again this morning again for the downside, a break of these lows. Maybe just simply the break of 38.72 with a stop above the 50, somewhere in that region. But if that might have been it. I still think there's more downside potential to come here. It's already through weekly, daily pivots into its 60-minute 50. Just I'll watch this carefully first thing this morning. Again, a more aggressive trend line running across the lows there, which might give me an opportunity for the downside. Still got that sort of bearish tinge to it now. From the picture we had there, it's sort of triggered, it's back to its trend line, and it's really a case of what it does around this trend line. Break above that 4-hourly 50, well, then we can't argue with the upside, but I don't necessarily want to be in it immediately. Dollar yen. The yen's strengthened a little against the dollar here last Thursday, Friday, marginally lower high on Friday there. It's not massively convincing, but we've got the weekly pivot now. This would be a lovely see if we get a platform off this weekly pivot with the let's see if we get a bounce off that with that 50 MA that sits underneath there. More conservative approach would be just wait for the trend line to be broken across the highs there. Let's just come down just to see if there's any more detail here. No, everything's looking really for that weekly weekly pivot at the moment is the real target, would be short term at least. As I said, otherwise looking at the trend line running across this sort of area, break of that, I'd be more bullish on it, but for now it remains bearish. That's that. Aussie dollar. Aussie was pushing up. The commodity currencies were doing well last week. Aussie pushing up at the moment. Just looking through here, high lows, high highs running through. and just pushing up, and it's, I mean, it's a bit more bullish, but there's not a lot of pips in a lot of this in these movements. We're sort of like looking at 20-30 pips. The average true range has really come off lately. You're looking at this time frame, the average true range dropped down to about 9 pips, but it's more the higher the daily ranges. Daily ranges just have just fallen away a little bit here, down to about 60 pips now. But we've seen some real small old days here, 26 pips, 36, 37 pips. Really quite small days. Might just get something that gives a bit more of a kicker. It's put me off the Aussie lately. Firstly, we had this long chop zone. We're getting a decent bounce. Perhaps on the swing side of things it's fine, but from a day trading point of view it's quite difficult by the time you place your stops. Canadian dollar, I'm interested in the short side of this still, but it's consolidating where it is here on the R1 pivot. It's just struggling a little there. Was looking at potentially on Friday at the breakdown here, but it's walked its way sideways out there, and it was quite okay. It's 12 o'clock and it had moved by then, but it was more of a stepping at sideways. Now we've got that weekly pivot on. I'd like to see that hit, and perhaps then if we get a breakdown, I'll be interested. But it's not massively keen on it at the moment. New Zealand dollar got caught a right bounce here. It's doing a bit better than the Aussie dollar effectively. High lows, high highs running through here. Looks a bit more solid. But again, the daily ranges are pretty small. Well, that's got a weekly pivot below. Break of these levels might see that running. These levels, the break of the lows here might see that as a bit of a target. But at the moment, it's just looking bullish. But the upside target isn't very much away. You can see this current candle is 12 pips, 12-13 pips, runs us back into the highs. It could be that. So not interested. Euro yen. Expecting more of the euro yen as it started picking up here. Maybe it's got an opportunity to break out here. Stopped me out of a little swing position. I say swing position, a long position over the weekend there, but still got this sort of flaggy pattern. Break of that may look a bit more interesting, but current state of affairs is pretty lower highs, lower lows on this, so it needs to start breaking for me to be a bit more bullish on that. But not happening at the moment. Right, okay, and I prefer the bullish side of it at the moment still, so I will be patient. Right, that's pretty much that. Let's have a look through the other markets in S&Ps. So just going to quickly look through the S&Ps this morning. We saw again on Friday that we ran past into new highs yet again, and it seems like a sort of the regular story here, that new highs come frequently, and we're just pushing and pushing. Getting a bit steep on the upward run there, but can't stand in front of it, can't really join into it at the moment from where it is. Maybe a retracement back into its daily pivot later could give an opportunity, but it's a bit sideward action. Don't really like the price action where it sits here, but a patience game there on the S&Ps for the next opportunity for the long side, I guess. Okay, gold. Gold really weak last week. It didn't manage to get, whereas the other markets were all pulling back a little bit and making a bit more gains here. Gold's just sitting there consolidated. Excuse me, sorry. It's really a bit rangy. Don't like the look of it. We'll stay clear of it. Simple as that. Potential still with that sort of just the very fact that it can't get much of a leg up there is at some point we just might get a leg down. So keeping away from it on that basis. The oil just continues running into new highs. It's done it again already this morning. Again, patience for me now. If it pulls back towards its weekly pivot, it may give us an opportunity for the bounce. Weekly pivot, daily pivot, even if not the weekly pivot. So a couple of opportunities or a couple of support areas that may come into play on oil, but at the moment it seems like there's no stopping it. Moving across to the world of cryptos, let me just bring in my other page there. Let's have a look. Let's just bring this across and let's have a look at Bitcoin then. So Bitcoin, etc. Well, a lot of them are basing a little bit at the moment. Whether this is a complete support base or whether the longer it stays down here, the more likely I think it is to roll over some more. At this stage, we've seen a bit of a bounce and could see a continuation, but the more it consolidates, as I say, the less interested I am. I think for the likes of Ethereum and Ripple, perhaps there might be, if there's going to be opportunities, these might be the lower cost opportunities to start edging into with both of these. Well, Ripple not looking fantastic this morning, Ethereum outperforming slightly there, but there we go. Same old picture there. Now there may yet still be downside on these, of course, but well, percentage terms could be just as bad, I suppose, if they start rolling over with Ethereum and Ripple compared to Bitcoin. So in percentage terms, we may be just as bad, worse off. Right, I'm just looking. There is nothing else here. I wish you. Let's just check, make sure there's nothing in terms of questions. No, that's it. So I wish you a great day. I'll catch you on in the morning. Bye for now.